Ferrari wants to steal workers from other racing teams, and this time they're looking at Red Bull because Red Bull has big problems right now. They want to take as many famous people as possible, and the biggest name everyone talks about is Adrian Newey. Because of all the mess happening at Red Bull, we might see this smart British guy take his friends and move to Ferrari to start a new adventure. Even Hamilton said this would be cool. Will Red Bull get in trouble because of their own bad choices against Horner? And has this big mess already cost them too much with their own workers? Everyone agrees that the Red Bull drama has been one of the hottest stories in racing. While many people who know inside secrets say the Austrian team needs to calm down and focus on what's really important right now, the damage might be so bad that it can't be fixed. Engineers might leave one after another, with Newey leading the way to the Ferrari team. According to F1 insiders, Ferrari is taking advantage of the damage done inside Red Bull's team and is trying to get 3 other big names besides Adrian Newey. These include Enrico Balbo, who is the boss of making cars go fast through the air, and a guy that Horner wanted to give an even bigger job soon. Also David Morgan, who leads the team that makes cars work better on the track and has worked with Red Bull since he left Williams. And Ben Waterhouse, who is the boss of making cars perform better at Red Bull. On top of that, Ferrari also wants to hire Alessandro Germani, who is really good at using computers to figure out how air moves around cars. This is something Ferrari really needs to get better at if they want to beat Red Bull. While all these names are really famous and would make Ferrari much better, which we should totally agree with, especially when we think about how much Dan Fallows helped Aston Martin when he left Red Bull as their old air boss and instantly made Aston Martin a top 5 team, they still don't compare to the super smart mind of Adrian Newey. Right now, reports say that the Ferrari team is ready to give the British genius a blank check. This means he would decide his own salary and his own working rules. And one thing is for sure, he'd bring his drawing board with him to Ferrari too. These moves are connected to Ferrari's chairman John Elkann, who has always said he wants to bring Ferrari back to its golden days from 2000 to 2004, plus the close racing years they had in 2007 and 2010 to 2012. So with that in mind, you could make a strong point that Ferrari doesn't want to play games when it comes to hiring strong and powerful workers and making their car a championship-winning one. If you're wondering how Ferrari can make these moves when there's a spending limit that's one of the biggest problems in the sport, we need to remind you of one very important thing here. The top 3 workers in each team don't count toward the spending limit. So Ferrari would be smart to make Newey one of those 3 workers. While all this information comes from Italian newspapers that are very close to Ferrari and can sometimes favor their home team, it does give you a lot to think about when it comes to hiring such an experienced group from Red Bull. Red Bull is a team that has had a really hard time staying stable ever since Dietrich Mateschitz died. On top of that, a German racing magazine reported that Adrian Newey's happiness with Red Bull has slowly but surely started to go down. Even though he said he wanted to stay with the team no matter how the whole Horner drama would end, there's one very important thing we need to say here. It's Horner who decides what jobs these experienced engineers get. Recently, Horner has said many times that Newey's influence on how the Red Bull cars look in the past couple of years is very small. And now the German racing magazine thinks that the 50-year-old British guy wants to push his older teammates out of the big picture and make him only focus on Red Bull's RB17 supercar project just to save money because of spending limits. The reaction from newspapers is already loud and clear. Even though Newey loves building supercars, and that has been one of his favorite projects as an engineer, if he gets demoted to this job and totally removed from having any say in Red Bull's F1 cars, then you can bet he would move to Ferrari and start his villain story in taking down Red Bull. By the way, this can definitely be done because of how much knowledge he has in his area of expertise. This is very interesting because it happens at the same time when Lewis Hamilton joined Ferrari. Even though many people have connected this move by Ferrari with the ongoing crisis at Red Bull, it's safe to think that they might have tried to hire some of these engineers even with their current drivers. So you can ask whether Ferrari is trying to build around Hamilton as their next champion, considering how much work they're doing to hire all these engineers and totally restructure their team. They didn't do the same thing for Leclerc, who will also benefit a lot from these signings if they happen soon. Ferrari needed Hamilton to sign a contract with them first before they started chasing these high-profile engineers. But the question for Ferrari fans remains: is all of this one massive rumor? And are they stuck on the hope machine for who knows how long now? According to the facts, it seems like Ferrari is making some strong moves, and there are certain situations that won't end well for Red Bull, like the internal drama between the Verstappen-Marko group and Christian Horner. Jos Verstappen firmly said that as long as Horner is leading the team, the environment his son has to drive in is not a good one. And there have been proper reports that Red Bull wants to change both drivers they have right now if Verstappen leaves them for Mercedes. But the damage that the three-time world champion is about to do to the Austrian team, according to Horner, doesn't matter. Horner thinks they can hire whoever they want and keep winning races consistently. Maybe not by as much as Verstappen does, but the job would still get done. So you could easily say that there's a fight between two giants at Red Bull, and it cannot end well for one of the two sides. Now, engineers like Adrian Newey might not want to deal with all the mess that comes after, because they weren't hired to deal with internal politics. His job and his co-workers' jobs are to design cars. If they find themselves in a toxic environment where their creative abilities will be limited, then it's safe to say they would look for another team to work for. Looking at all the moves Ferrari has been making, the market does seem quite attractive for these Red Bull engineers. With Newey saying that one of his biggest regrets is not working with a team like Ferrari, plus Hamilton's shocking move, you can never say never to another shocking earthquake starting from Red Bull and moving to the Ferrari factory. All the credit is going to Fred Vasseur, one of the most doubted team bosses on the grid when he replaced Mattia Binotto and finished third in his first year with Ferrari. But after the massive signings he made with Loic Serra and Lewis Hamilton, plus Jerome D'Ambrosio, who was the motorsport boss at Mercedes and is now going to take a senior job at Ferrari, you can definitely bet that the Ferrari team is not going to settle for anything less than a championship. And with the powerful duo of drivers they'll have, it's not going to be that crazy of a scenario either. Now, Christian Horner might be doing exactly what he said he doesn't want to do in his own team: have people that feel like they are above the team. This was the direct threat he sent to Verstappen when the Dutch driver threatened to leave if Marko wasn't there with him. From this point of view, we could understand a bit why Jos is very loud when it comes to replacing Horner. This is because Jos is the guy who has been with the team from day one, and if certain situations are not going his way, then the last thing he would want to do is bow down to the new generation and give up to the new culture. On the other hand, after being found innocent of the accusations, Horner might want to push back even more and bring more authority to the team. All of this could definitely turn into more drama for Red Bull, because they are the team that is under a huge threat of falling apart. And considering the fact that their rivals are in a much-needed situation of stealing unhappy workers from their camp, it's not something that the Austrian team should approach in such an unserious way. With this in mind, do you think that Adrian Newey could be joining Ferrari anytime soon? And more importantly, do you think there's a chance for Red Bull to recover if the British guy leaves the team in the hands of whoever would be left behind him? Given the fact that Ferrari is looking at a whole bunch of engineers from Red Bull, let us know in the comments below.